I've spoken before about the slippery slope. And recently I said that we were more than halfway down it. Well, I think that's the wrong analogy. America is on a cliff's edge, and we seem to have one foot off of over it entirely, and the other foot, well, it's not very secure. We are looking at the complete obliteration of the part of the First Amendment that covers our freedom of speech and our right to protest and assemble peacefully. The economy is in free fall, whether that's intentionally or because of Donald Trump's sheer incompetence or some combination of the two, remains to be seen. Our allies, soon to be former, don't trust us anymore and are retaliating in ways that will only hurt us because we, of course, are unprovoked and unilaterally harming them. So here we are. And now we are facing what looks like a showdown in the Senate over a budget bill. And I don't think it's overstating it to say that the future of our ability to stay in this fight in a way that really matters is in the hands of Senate Democrats. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's episode of Mary Trump Live. It is wonderful to have you here. Okay, so the House, the Republican-led House, approved a funding bill just like 2 minutes ago to prevent a government shutdown at the end of this week. I believe the shutdown is scheduled to kick in on the 14th of March, or maybe sooner. I'm sorry, I don't quite have the date. It might be tomorrow. Something to look forward to. And basically what's happened is that yes, it's Friday, March 14th. Yeah, I think. And it should be Friday, March 13th, Friday the 13th, even though I'm not a suspicious person, but that would just seem, more fitting. Anyway, by voting to pass this funding bill today, which I have to admit was a bit of a feat, which I'll get to in a second, it moves the measure forward for Senate consideration, where it needs 60 votes to overcome the 60 vote filibuster hurdle. This continuing resolution that just passed, let's just call it what it is. It's a temporary funding stopgap. It passed in a 217 to 213 vote, mostly along party lines. Only one Democrat, Representative Jared Golden of Maine, supported the measure because he's out of his mind, I guess, and never wants to be reelected. I do not know. While Representative Thomas Massey of Kentucky was the sole Republican to oppose it. Now, remember, the Republican margin in the House is so narrow that Johnson could afford to lose only one vote. It was awesome of Jared Golden, allegedly a Democrat, to give Johnson an assist, but it would have passed anyway because because despite its narrowness, the Republicans do have the majority. So if enacted, this legislation would extend government funding through September 30th, which is fun. So we can go through this all over again. And that's the end of the fiscal year. So it includes increased funding for defense programs because I personally do not think that spending $950 billion a year on defense is enough. Yeah, I'm being very sarcastic. It's also reducing spending on non-defense initiatives. See if you can name a couple. Without action, current funding is set to expire at 11:59 p.m. on Friday, the aforementioned March 14th. So what does this mean exactly? And why are we counting on Democrats to save us? A little context here. Democrats have no power in the United States government right now due to the ignorance, cruelty, fascism, what have you, of the American voters who decided that not only were they going to put Donald Trump back into the White House, but they wanted Republicans in control of everything because that always works out well for us. So Democrats are out of this game entirely, but for one thing. Now, they could have had an opportunity in the House, but somehow I'm guessing it's a combination of a lot of Republicans in the House are actually fascists who are into this stuff. A lot of threats of primary challenges to be funded by Elon Musk, a lot of arm twisting by Donald Trump, whom these miscreants seem to admire or be afraid of. So, yeah, Johnson held it together. So now it goes to the Senate. Again, in the Senate, 60 votes are needed to overcome the filibuster to get anything to a vote because the Senate, the United States Senate, is not a democratic institution. So Republicans have 53 votes in the House. Democrats have 47. 7 Democrats would have to cross party lines. 7 Democrats would have to be willing to commit political suicide in order to help the Republicans destroy our country. Why would they do this? I don't know. Hopefully, we won't have to answer that question because hopefully they won't. But why? What's the incentive here? The Republicans, of course, are portraying this. If the Democrats don't vote with the Republicans, it's the Democrats who are responsible for shutting down the government. People don't like government shutdowns. All sorts of things stop happening. All sorts of people get put on furlough and stop receiving paychecks. Things like national parks get closed. All of the inessential, quote unquote, inessential things that this government funds stop getting funded. Well, guess what? That is not true. Republicans have a majority. If Republicans can't get this done, it is down to them. They are in charge of everything. They have all the power. So this is literally the only leverage Democrats have left. This is the only card they have to play. If they blow this, they have nothing left unless they win the majority back in 2026, which is to say, if there are elections. This isn't a game. There are conditions that need to be met in order for the Democrats to make common cause with fascists, which, by the way, is something I do not recommend. However, they can make real changes. They can get real concessions from the Republicans. One, get rid of Elon Musk immediately. Rein in Donald Trump. Have somebody who actually knows what the fuck he's doing, making decisions about our economy, about our alliances, about our treatment of Ukraine. Basically, to paraphrase, stop the illegal shit. Stop the unconstitutional bullshit that is destroying this country from within. That's the power Senate Democrats have right now. And yet, has anybody heard any messaging along those lines? Anything? No. Why? Are they not up for this fight? Well, based on their response to Donald's insane, fascistic, propagandistic remarks in front of a joint session of Congress last Tuesday, the answer is no. So if they cannot meet this moment, then guess what, guys? We need a new Democratic Party because this ain't it. After yesterday's disastrous turn of events in the stock market, Donald went into hiding for the remainder of the day, canceling all scheduled events, which is hysterical. Because what does he like more? Well, he likes money more than anything, but what does he like almost as much? Attention. So for him to shy away from the press, that's telling. You could almost say it's diagnostic. Unfortunately for him, and honestly for us, this left Caroline Leavitt to be the face of the response. This is so lovely. At a White House press conference today, when asked about the potential recession that Donald stoked the fears about, and the recent stock market declines because of said stoking of fears. This is what she had to say.
We see today, the numbers we saw yesterday, the numbers we'll see tomorrow are a snapshot of a moment in time. And as President Trump has said, and I'm here to echo the remarks of this president of this White House, we are in a period of economic transition. We are in a period of transition from the mess that was created under Joe Biden in the previous administration. Joe Biden left this country in an economic disaster.
Yeah. Liar. I mean, I know that's goes without saying at this point, but couple of things. First of all, economic transition, disruptions. What are they doing? I mean, other than covering their asses, because there's literally no excuse for what's happening right now at all. This is all down to incompetence or, as I said earlier, intention. So I think this is just softening the ground to get Donald's base used to the idea that, hey, if you want to make America great again, things are going to get more expensive for a while. Inflation's going to go up. Things are going to be harder for you or impossible for you to buy. You may not be able to feed your kids. Yeah, healthcare, sorry. But it's worth it because we're making America great again. Oh, Social Security, that's a socialist program. Only Democrats like to steal money from the government for things like Social Security and, SNAP to feed their kids or, Medicare or Medicaid. That's what they're doing. They are setting this up. And the whole idea that these people, I shouldn't be surprised that they have the gall to do this, but it's still appalling to say that when Donald came into office, the Biden-Harris administration left him a disastrous economy is so deeply offensive. Donald left Joe Biden a disastrous economy. By the time Joe Biden was done, the United States of America had the strongest economy in the world and the lowest rates of inflation by far. Were they higher than they should have been or had been? Yes, of course they were. Were they lower than Donald left them? Much. So, yet another thing to blame the corporate media for. So I think it's fair to say that we are officially in Donald Trump's recession, also known as, apparently, catching on like wildfire, repeated endlessly, the Trump session. Today, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins claimed that egg prices have decreased $1.85 per dozen since the Trump regime unveiled its plan to combat bird flu and lower costs. And here's what Leave It had to say about the agricultural secretary's plan for the egg crisis.
Secretary Rollins put out a 4-point plan, to address this crisis. And she has been honest and realistic with the American people, as this administration always is. It will take about 3 to 6 months to get the egg supply back to where it should be. But she's focused, and this administration is focused on doing that every day.
4, 5. I think it's 5 because 5 is get your own fucking chickens. Maybe you don't have to do that anymore. But still, this is a decrease from just a few days ago. But I think that egg prices are still higher than they were. And if you'll recall, egg prices are why so many millions of Americans didn't vote for Kamala Harris. Leave It also had a few words with a reporter from the Associated Press. Oh, they're letting the Associated Press back in. Huh. Cool. I mean, if you remember, they did it for a while because the Associated Press was recalcitrant enough to insist that the Gulf of Mexico is still the Gulf of Mexico. Anyway, the spat was over what tariffs are and who actually pays them, because for some bizarre reason, people still don't know that. People in charge still don't know this. Watch this.
When President Trump last addressed the BRT when he was on the campaign trail, his big push was on tax cuts. He's going there today
as he's proposing tax hikes in the form of tariffs.
Not
and
true.
I'm curious
He's not
for
doing
why
that.
he's prioritizing that over the tax cuts.
He's actually not implementing tax hikes. Tariffs are a tax hike on foreign countries that, again, have been ripping us off. Tariffs are a tax cut for the American people. And the president is a staunch advocate of tax cuts. As you know, he campaigned on no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security benefits. He is committed to all three of those things, and he expects Congress to pass them later this year.
I'm sorry, have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have.
That's
They
it.
don't get charged on foreign companies, they get charged on the importers.
And ultimately, when we have fair and balanced trade, which the American people have not seen in decades, as I said at the beginning, revenues will stay here, wages will go up, and our country will be made wealthy again. And I think it's insulting that you're trying to test my knowledge of economics and the decisions that this president has made. I'm now regret giving a question to the Associated Press.
Oh wow, she is just the worst. Oh my god. I can't. I just can't anymore with her. The ignorance that she just drips with contempt and condescension in a way that seriously I would rather eat glass than listen to her. Because she's also wrong about but she's wrong with such vigor and conviction. Actually, it's not conviction because she knows she's wrong. She's just a really good liar. Okay, so she doesn't either know or she's pretending not to know how tariffs actually work. The idea that they're calling tariffs a tax cut for the American consumer it's just divorced from reality. We know how this works. I mean, there's a reason. If that were the case, then why would other countries be imposing tariffs? I mean, it's just like it doesn't make any sense. It's completely wrong. Is it true? Is it true that Donald loves tax cuts? Yeah, it is. He wants his $1.7 trillion tax cuts for the 0.01% of us, which is none of us, I'm pretty sure, to pass again. That's the tax cut he's gunning for. So, if tariffs were such a great idea, if tariffs were things that we could reliably count on to stabilize and improve our economy, I'm pretty sure the Dow wouldn't have tanked over how many points? 1,200 points in the last 2 days. All right. On March 9th, Columbia University student and Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil was detained by ICE agents at his home without a warrant or formal charges, despite the fact that he has a green card. What does that mean? For those of us not familiar, if you have a green card, you are a legal resident of the United States of America. They are not easy to get. He has one. So that means he was detained illegally. Leavitt claimed Khalil was eligible for deportation under the Immigration and Nationality Act, alleging he had sided with Hamas terrorists, an accusation his attorney Bahir Azmi called false and preposterous. Play the clip.
There are reasonable grounds to believe that the alien's presence or activities in the United States would have potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences to the United States. And I think siding with Hamas makes that quite clear. Secretary Rubio exercised that authority, and we fully believe that we are going to move forward with more arrests, as President Trump previewed in his statement yesterday.
Yeah, Goebbels would be proud. Seriously. Well done. Well done. Speaker Mike Johnson was also asked today about Mahmoud Khalil and what should be done with protesters. Let's take a look.
In your estimation, what crime did Mahmoud Khalil commit to warrant his arrest, detention, and the potential revocation of his green card?
Let me tell you something. I went face down the angry mob at Columbia at the height of that stuff. When the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas protesters were there. I'm telling you, this is my own observation, not something I read in the newspaper. It was dangerous. I met with Jewish students before we went to campus who were holed away off campus because they were instructed by the administration not to come to class, which they paid for fear of their physical safety. The administrators there refused to take control of that campus. They refused to allow the PD to come, the police department to come in and take control, and it turned into a chaos. The president has since been removed, and now they got the same problem again. Columbia and other universities, they have to keep control of campus. The first responsibility of an administration is ensuring the safety of the students who are paying tuition to be there, for crying out loud. This madness has to stop. We have to get control of it.
Yeah, I agree this madness has to stop. People like you need to get the fuck away from our government because you are dangerous. All you do is lie. You like to pretend that you're some brave little guy going to a campus protest? Give me a break. Did Columbia handle this properly? No. The Columbia administration was miserable in how they handled this. They didn't protect any of their students. They didn't protect their students' right peacefully to protest, which is still allowed under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. No, they let it get out of hand, and they allowed people like Mike Johnson to blame the wrong people. So we're still doing this, are we? We are equating pro-Palestinians with being pro-Hamas? How dare you? How dare you? Palestinians have been slaughtered over the last 3 years. Slaughtered. Israel, led by, I do not blame the Israeli people. I blame Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who's a mass murderer. And of course, aligned with Donald Trump. I blame him. I blame the fact that the Biden administration continued to give Israel aid without any conditions whatsoever. We own this too. So, what is the statute of limitations on being able to protest peacefully without having to worry that a bunch of brown shirts and SS officers are going to come and deport you for no reason whatsoever? Is there one? And if anybody thinks that this doesn't matter, well, it's just a bunch of college students who are Palestinian. Who cares? Do you seriously think they're going to stop there? Do you seriously think eventually it's going to be anybody who dares stand up to this Trump regime, to these fascists? Of course not. This is designed to chill our impulse to protest for our rights, to protest for the rights of our fellow Americans, to protest for those among us who are so vulnerable right now because of these people. This is just the start of things. And as far as I know, nobody knows yet where exactly Mahmoud Khalil is. He was sent to a detention center in Louisiana from New York for no reason. Luckily, a federal judge, I guess, put a hold on his potential deportation. But for reasons that beggar my understanding, he hasn't been released. He doesn't have access to an attorney. This is not how democratic societies work. This is what happens when we don't pay enough attention and all of a sudden the fascists have taken over everything. And how could we possibly have known? Well, because they committed an insurrection against our own government. And they succeeded. Sorry. Later, yesterday, Donald did emerge from his very brave hiding from the press because Elon Musk showed up to sell the little guy a Tesla. I'll give you one guess. And this is because I recommended this earlier today. So I'm pretty sure this is why this happened. Which model do you think of the most absurd, embarrassing Tesla model that you can think of? Uh-huh. Donald is now the proud owner of a Cybertruck, which is fitting because it's one, hideously ugly. The aesthetics of that thing could blind a person, and it's a cheap piece of garbage. Perfect for Donald. The only thing, I mean, it's not, well, I don't know for sure. Maybe we need some photographic evidence. I'm wondering if Elon had it gold plated for him. But it's not gold, so, not quite what he was looking for. They took a question about a statement Donald made about more arrests coming for protesters. So a moment of levity and then back to the horrors. Donald was asked about protesters such as Mahmoud Khalil, and this was his response. Watch.
I think we ought to get them all out of the country. They're troublemakers. They're agitators. They don't love our country. We ought to get them the hell out. I think that guy, we ought to get him. I heard his statements, too. They were plenty bad. And I think we ought to get him the hell out of the country. I watched him. I watched tapes. Specifically, I watched tapes. And you can have them, okay? You can have them. And you can have the rest of them. Let them go to school. Let them learn. Columbia used to be a good school. Now it's been overrun because of bad leadership. That's what happens. Happens to countries, and it happens to universities, and it happens to companies.
Really? I mean, I can think of somebody who really needs to get the hell out of this country, but it's certainly not Mahmoud Khalil. But listen, again, slippery slope, cliff's edge. Based on what he just said, do we have any confidence whatsoever that he'll stop at actual American citizens? Pretty soon it'll be American citizens who just weren't born here, or American citizens who were born here, but to parents who weren't. And then it will just be people like you and me who hate them and stand up against them and speak loudly and forcefully in opposition. I mean, luckily there are no tapes of me saying shit about Donald and what a pathetic piece of garbage he is and what a loser he is, because otherwise, I would be worried. Also, I have a degree from Columbia, and I'm ashamed of it because I think, again, Columbia handled this horrifically from day one. And as far as I know, they haven't actually done anything or said anything of substance in the wake of one of their students being illegally detained and sent out of state to a detention center in Louisiana while he awaits potential deportation. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. And the idea that somebody like Donald Trump is making these, not just making these decisions, he's micromanaging this stuff, which honestly makes the whole idea that a sycophant and crazy person like Kash Patel is in charge of the FBI, checking off that enemies list. That should give one pause. All right. So Donald was also asked if he took any responsibility for disrupting the markets with the uncertainty he injected because he couldn't say clearly and forcefully that we shouldn't worry about a recession. In fact, he was like, I don't want to talk about it. Who knows? That does not inspire confidence. But also because of this stupid trade war. Watch this.
Mr. President, you mentioned the ups and downs in the stock market. You said it'll go up, it'll go down. But do you and your tariff policies right now bear any responsibility for the turmoil
we're seeing this week? Biden gave us a horrible economy. He gave us horrible inflation. And I think the market was going to go very, very bad. If anything, I have a lot of very smart people, friends of mine and great businessmen. They're now investing because of what I'm doing.
Sure they are. I too want to invest in the stock market right now. Also, it's badly. So never any pushback against the reality that Joe Biden left him an incredible economy, as did Barack Obama. Oh, well, I guess we're just going to need to continue to do our own research, aren't we? Premier Doug Ford of Ontario initially threatened to cut off U.S. electricity supply, calling the Donald's tariffs an unprovoked attack and blaming him for a potential Trump recession. But after a call with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who is a piece of work, Ontario suspended the electricity surcharge to de-escalate tensions. Play the clip.
Well, just a little while ago, I had an opportunity to speak to Secretary Lutnick. And Secretary Lutnick has sent out an olive branch to us to come down and immediately meet with him, meet with the whole trade administration, and discuss the future. Rather than waiting till April the 2nd, threats going back and forth, tit for tat, I've agreed to suspend temporarily, and we always have that tool in our toolkit, until we sit down over the next day or two. I'll be heading down to Washington along with Dominic LeBlanc, and we'll have a good discussion. You know, with any negotiation that we have, there's a point that both parties are heated and the temperature needs to come down.
I'm sort of well, I don't even know if it's two minds. I'm sort of a mind and a half about this. I get it. I understand these people, the Canadians who are dealing with this just unexpected disaster. And again, unprovoked, originally unilateral attack. Have empathy. They truly, truly do not want to hurt the American people. But here's a pro tip. Our government does. And not only that, Donald Trump specifically wants to hurt you, Canada. So I don't want the American people to be harmed any more than they have been or are going to be either. But this is hardball. You cannot give these people any concessions because that's seen as abdication, and that's interpreted as permission to do worse to you. If you think Howard Lutnick is going to deal with you in good faith, you are woefully mistaken. So yeah, keep that tool in your toolbox, but get ready to use it immediately. And again, I take no pleasure in saying that. None whatsoever. But this is not the time. This is a bizarre thing to say. This is not the time to be the adult in the room. Or I should say, right now, being the adult in the room means beating them at their own game, which is to do things that will make you uncomfortable because you care, but they don't. Remember, there is no worst ever. Anyway, well, obviously we'll have lots to update you on Friday. Today, Donald met with corporate America, not the whole of it, but some of the leaders in corporate America, as economic fears continue to hurt the stock market. He met with CEOs of some of America's largest companies today, including many whose market values have steeply fallen due to concerns over a potential recession and rising inflation, which have dampened both consumer and investor confidence. I cannot imagine why. Today's discussions with approximately 100 CEOs during a regular session of the Business Roundtable in Washington, D.C., consisted of executives from major U.S. corporations, including Apple, J.P. Morgan, Chase, and Walmart. I'm just curious. I wonder if any of those CEOs, those big shot CEOs, had the guts to mention the $4 trillion hit the market took yesterday entirely because Donald is an idiot who stoked instead of assuaging fears of a recession. What are the odds that somebody actually stood up and pointed out the real problem here? 0. So it'll be interesting to see how, if at all, Donald responds to the fact that he is harming the only people he quote unquote cares about, or whose opinion he values, maybe is how I should put it. It also will be interesting to find out if these CEOs end up being okay with all of this for reasons of their own, which I assume we'll find out at some point. Donald's latest immigration stunt takes things to a whole new level, introducing a quote-unquote self-deport option on the CBP app. So ICE is, of course, involved in this. The Trump regime is repurposing the CBP Home mobile app, which was initially developed for asylum appointments. Okay, so initially it was designed to be a good, helpful thing for immigrants so they could get the help they needed. The app now lets migrants submit an intent to depart, offering them the opportunity to leave the country without facing stricter penalties. U.S. officials have encouraged migrants to leave voluntarily, avoiding arrest and deportation and probably, horrific treatment at the hands of ICE. Watch this.
It's called the CBP Home app, and if that sounds familiar, that's because there was a CBP One app that was created by the Biden administration to give undocumented immigrants an appointment to seek asylum. This does the opposite of that, giving undocumented immigrants an opportunity to self-deport.
Personally, I don't think there's much of a benefit to the app.
Immigration attorney Gustavo Mora says the new app will collect data on undocumented immigrants and does not explain what rights they may have.
If you have never had any immigration history, then you have due process rights, and those rights include your ability to be able to present your case before an immigration judge in immigration court.
I think that by giving your personal information through the app, they easily could just find you, come knock at your door, your house, or where you work, and then come look for you, your family.
The Secretary of Homeland Security says the app gives undocumented immigrants the option to leave now and self-deport, so they may still have an opportunity to return legally in the future and may live the American dream. If they don't, we will find them, we will deport them, and they will never return.
Do not trust this at all, please. If any immigrants who are in this position are listening, don't ever give these people any information about you or your whereabouts or anything that could help them track you down, because they're dangerous and not to be trusted. This is just yet another way in which the Trump regime, with the help of the hideous Nazi, Tom Homan, who is the so-called border czar, are using to strike terror into immigrants and undocumented workers in this country. Today, Ukraine proposed a temporary ceasefire agreement with Russia. While Ukraine has agreed to halt hostilities, Russia has yet to accept the ceasefire terms, probably because why should they? U.S. officials, including part-time Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Waltz, are engaging in shuttle diplomacy to push for Russia's participation, with Donald set to meet with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte on March 13th. Oh, that'll help. Let's watch what Rubio had to say in his announcement this afternoon.
Ending this war once and for all. Today, we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable and accounts for their interests, their security, their ability to prosper as a nation. I want to personally we both want to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, His Majesty, for hosting us, for making this possible. They've been instrumental in this process, and we're very grateful to them for hosting us here today. And hopefully we'll take this offer now to the Russians. And we hope that they'll say yes to peace. The ball's now in their court. And but again, the president's objective here is, number one, above everything else, he wants the war to end. And I think today Ukraine has taken a concrete step in that regard. We hope the Russians will reciprocate.
Well, because the Ukrainians are desperate and they know that without the help of the United States, things are going to go very poorly for them. Also, Russia. I mean, Donald is allegedly interested in peace. Not that he knows what that is, but he's interested in a peace that benefits Russia. Let's be very clear about this. So it remains to be seen. I mean, we need to see the details of this agreement. But I want to be clear about this as well. Ukraine announced its willingness to accept a temporary 30-day ceasefire along the current battle lines pending Russia's agreement. That makes sense. I mean, I guess it's nice that Ukraine is finally being is finally involved in the negotiations about their own future, considering they are the grievously injured party here, and Russia is the aggressor who invaded that country illegally and has committed horrific war crimes against its people. Yesterday, while Zelensky was involved in Saudi Arabian peace talks, Kyiv launched its largest ever drone attack on Moscow. Good for you. Targeting oil refineries and infrastructure, with Russia claiming to have downed 337 drones. This is sort of the state of play, pending the details. I don't know if you remember, but last week, Donald stopped military aid and intelligence sharing, military aid to and intelligence sharing with Ukraine but which was illegal, and he did not have the authority to do. But that pause was lifted after Ukraine accepted the ceasefire proposal. A national security advisor, Mike Waltz, confirmed this change, and now aid from the United States is once again going to the United States effective immediately. These talks also, though, and this is important to remember, are continuing over a potential minerals agreement that would grant the United States access to profits from Ukraine's rare earth resources. Donald and Rubio have stressed that securing this deal is a key to U.S.-Ukraine relations. In other words, they are still content to blackmail Ukraine in order to enrich themselves and plunder resources they have absolutely no right to. From today, that's March 11th through March 13th, 2025, the Department of Education offices will temporarily be closed. The Department of Education ordered all of its offices, including its Washington, D.C. headquarters and regional offices, to close starting Tuesday evening, cited unspecified security reasons. Offices are set to reopen Thursday, but employees were instructed to vacate offices, work remotely, and longtime staffers noted that they have never, ever seen such a full disclosure before. Not disclosure, closure, sorry. The shutdown comes as Donald continues his push to dismantle the Department of Education with the long view of getting rid of it entirely. And he's been threatening mass layoffs and an executive order to do just that. End it. The closure memo sent by Office of Security provided no specific details of the security risks prompting the shutdown, and the department has yet to comment publicly because there is no transparency here. I mean, especially if Doge has a hand in any of this, because Elon Musk is in charge of Doge, and we are getting the same level of transparency at the Department of Government Ethics, that illegal, unconstitutional agency that he had no right to start and no right to lead, that we had on when he took over Twitter. So USAID, which is still essentially gutted and hobbled and unable to do it, complete its missions, USAID employees were told to destroy classified documents according to emails. Today, an internal email from acting USAID Secretary Erica Carr instructed employees to use shredders and burn bags marked secret to dispose of classified materials, raising concerns about compliance with federal record-keeping laws. Quote, shred as many documents first and reserve the burn bags for when the shredder becomes unavailable or needs a break, unquote. Well, you know, if you're shredding so much stuff that the shredder needs a break, you're shredding a lot of stuff you probably shouldn't be shredding. The FRA, the Federal Records Act, prohibits destruction of government records before a designated retention period, usually a minimum of 3 years, and it has been 50 days. This purge risks eliminating evidence for ongoing FOIA requests, that's Freedom of Information Act requests, and future oversight investigations. USAID's oversight of Elon Musk's Starlink terminals for Ukraine is already under investigation, which is raising additional concerns about whether document destruction could be linked to avoiding scrutiny. Well, let me end speculation about that. Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. Musk, one of his main missions here is to eliminate oversight of himself and his corrupt companies permanently. And the best, most effective way to do that is to dismantle any agencies that have had, up until now, the authority to investigate him and his companies. So, question asked, question answered. Okay, anybody need an emotional support moment? I think I do. As some of you may know, I'm a nerd. I am a literature nerd. I am a science fiction nerd. And I am an astronomy nerd. So, the Hubble telescope is awesome. And I just wanted to play this clip of some of the images that are coming back to us from wherever it may be. Check it out. I don't know about you guys. I could watch that all day long. Just stunning, stunningly beautiful. And it's a good reminder, because we need as many as we can get, of what human beings are still capable of. Because human beings developed the technology to make those images possible. And they cared enough for us to explore, like, seriously, the outer reaches of the universe, so we could maybe start to understand more than we do. Yeah, we definitely need more of that. All right, I want to get to your questions and comments. Okay. Well, sorry. Suki56 in the house. You are totally outdoing yourself, Suki56. Comment. Greetings, Mary. I don't understand why Donald would attack countries with tariffs, and when they don't bow down but fight back, he wants to be the victim, even though he started the fight. Just saying, well, that's the bullies. That's from the bully playbook, right? You know, as soon as somebody fights back, what does the bully do? Runs crying home to mom. Or maybe in his case, he wouldn't go running crying home. He would just, he would just run home and hide in his room because he's a baby and he can't handle any pushback whatsoever. Thanks, Suki. Much appreciated. Sue, super sticker. Thank you so much, Sue. That's awesome. Just me, also in the house. Thank you, as always, for that comment. I tried to find the funny and share it to bring people up today. I got nothing but cheering you on. Yes, have we ever had days like that? Yeah, this is a tough, lot of tough days. But this, yeah, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard, and sometimes, the tone, the mood shifts so quickly because interspersed with the lighter moments we can maybe find are real actual horrors and real actual people being grievously harmed by the worst human beings who've ever roamed the planet. So I empathize. Just me. Mary, thank you so very much. Comment, thank you and your team for all you do. You are quite welcome. We love it. Suki, my goodness gracious. You're making me blush. All right. Comment, Mary, I have to go out and buy a Tesla half-cylinder gas car because Donald said I have to support felon. You can't have felon without Elon, just saying. So true. So true. Although Donald can, because he's an actual felon who was found guilty on 34 felony counts. So he can do it because, he's good at that kind of stuff. Thanks, Suki. Also, by the way, Donald, I forgot to provide context. Donald said that he was going to buy a Tesla in support of Musk. I thought, well, if you buy all of them, maybe that will help. But he was going to buy one because he's also really, really cheap. That runs in my family. But then Musk gives it to him, which kind of defeated the whole purpose of the gesture. Anyway. KJ Craft, super sticker. Thanks as always. Thank you very much. Mariana, another super sticker. Mariana, thank you as always. Awesome. M, thank you very much for that. M again. Thank you very much. That's great. Question: do you think Donald's mental state could be set on revenge against all Americans for not electing him in 2020? Yes. He is the most vicious, vindictive person I've ever met. I haven't met that many people. So let me expand that pool. Anybody who has ever lived. It's incredible. It's a psychological thing having to do with his very fragile ego and the fact that he has no sense of self-worth whatsoever. Long story. But yeah, he is out for revenge against anybody. Not just anybody who didn't vote for him, but anybody. Because he lost, and he lost big in 2020, and he cannot recover from it. Despite everything, think about that. Despite everything he's gotten away with, he's still, that's what eats him up inside. I mean, I'm glad it does. I hope it feels like acid. Because that's who I am now. Oh, well. Denissa, thank you so very much for that. Comment, make Leave Its voice cartoonish as well, please. I know. She's unbearable. I think that would be a lot of cartoon voices. So we kind of have to, stick with the worst one. Although it's debatable. She's in the running for sure. Honestly, if the only thing that would work is if we just muted her. But that would be ineffective and not exactly informative. Elwood, super sticker. Thanks so much, Elwood. Awesome. Maple Power, cat in the house. Thank you very much for that. Stay strong. And I'm sorry. Cindy, another super sticker. Thank you very much, Cindy. Dumpster Diving Dragon, super sticker. Thanks so much, as always. Doomslayer 9316. Thank you very much for that. It's very generous of you. Comment, I'm sorry your uncle is such a monster. Yeah, me too. It is horrifying. Because again, always going to get worse, and there is no bottom ever. Diana, thank you very much. Very kind of you. Hi, Rosemary. Thank you as well. That's awesome. Laura, another super sticker. Thank you very much, Laura. Serenity, super sticker. Thanks as always. Much appreciated. Mika, super sticker. Thank you very much for that. I need to know what that currency is. So I'm going to find out. Thank you. I love finding out what the currencies are. Love my dogs a lot. Thanks as always for that. That's very generous of you. Comment, I cringe every time somebody calls him Mr. President. I can think of much better things to call him. Just call him Donald. He hates it. Seriously, like we don't need to call him names. I mean, I do constantly, but Donald, it's just Donald. And by the way, I call him that because that's what I always called him. That's how it was in my family. My dad, I mean, when my dad was alive, there was like only 3 of us. My cousin, one cousin, me and my brother. But my cousin called my dad Uncle Freddie, and we called his mom Aunt Marianne. Elizabeth was Elizabeth, Donald was Donald, and Robert was Robert. So why would I call him anything else? That's why I have to resort to synonyms like loser and fucking idiot and moron. Just, to keep things straight. Debbie, thank you so much, Debbie. That's great. Update and question. U.S. Department of Ed issued order to leave the building by 6 p.m. and not return. Mary, what the fuck? As a high school teacher near the Mexican border, I can't even trust my governor Newsom now. Yeah, tell me about it. That is a blow. How far he's fallen in like 5 minutes. It's incredible. I don't know. I mean, they have really awful plans for the Department of Education. I think blue states will probably be okay. I mean, well, I can't speak for Newsom because what he's doing, his comments on trans people and trans athletes were just so appalling. But, blue states probably be all right, but that half of the country won't be. Half of our children won't be. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll find out, but it's nothing good. Cian, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm sorry if I'm not. Canadian, thank you. Stay strong. And I'm very sorry. Comment, suggested books to read, banned or not. I need the escape. Oh, well, escape. I mean, pretty much any book about the LGBTQ plus community, about Black history in America, novels by Black writers, yeah, or anything that's about like that gives us the correct version of American history. It's amazing. If you look at the list of banned books, it is quite stunning. As for recommendations, it's a little hard to narrow down. I'd sort of need to know what your genres are, but because I like murder mysteries, but mostly I read classic literature. Oh, great idea. I just thought of this spontaneously. No, I didn't. Mercedes wrote me a note. Like an actual note. With paper and a pen. Why don't we have a little book club here? Because that would be really cool. Right? I mean, we could swap suggestions and I'll do my best to remember what I'm actually reading at the time. All right, cool. I love that idea. I'll think about it and get back to you probably tomorrow night. Kenderson, another Canadian. Thank you so much, and I'm sorry. Comment, Mary, just a small donation in case you change your mind about getting a flock of chickens to start a backyard chicken coop. Well, I really appreciate that, and that probably would help towards my first chicken, but I would also need a fund to help me get a backyard, which is, probably a little more than the cost of a chicken. Also, I have no interest in having a backyard. I'm just going to have to ask. I don't know. We'll have to figure something out. Maybe Central Park can put together a chicken coop. But also, by the way, I don't think we want to get bird flu. So I'm not really down with having my own chickens right now. But thank you. That is very kind of you. And that money will be earmarked. Actually, no. It's going to go to a much better cause, which is independent media. Love my dog's life. Thank you again. Really. Very generous. Comment. Yeah, this is hysterical. Donald is interested in the Nobel Peace Prize, not real peace. If he ever receives that award, I will just give up all hope for humankind. Nobody like Donald should ever be honored. He shouldn't be honored with anything, actually. I mean, a very lengthy prison term would have been fabulous. But no, I mean, this is one of those things that we just have to let go, because this is just a bunch of Republicans being pathetic sycophants and, sucking up to a guy who deserves to be in The Hague and nowhere near the Nobel Peace Prize or the Nobel Prize of any kind. Could you imagine? Rock and Steady, thank you so much for that. That's great. Question. Even though I can totally see Donald as a used car salesman, isn't holding a Tesla purchase and commercial in front of the White House a blatant conflict of interest? You're awesome, Mary. Well, thank you for that. You guys make it easy to do this, so thank you. Yes, I always forget which one it's called. It's either the Hatch Act or the Logan Act. But yes, it is. I don't know, like illegal necessary, but it's wrong. It is unconstitutional, and it should not be happening. But who's going to do anything about it? Hopefully somebody's keeping track, though, because it happens all the time. And I'll find out which one of those it is. He violates both of them constantly. One is about campaigning on government property. Like, you cannot, if you're in office running for re-election, you cannot campaign from your office. So the one where it's illegal or unconstitutional or whatever, whichever one it is, about, promoting goods, etc. From your position of power is the Hatch Act. The other one's the Logan Act. And yes, I just spontaneously came up with that answer. No, I didn't. That was Mercedes. Oh, wow. Pearface. Thank you so much. That's very helpful and appreciated. Comment, Mary, I love you and your sense of humor. Live long and prosper. Right back at you. And thank you. Yeah, we try. We try to keep it light because we know that you guys are all dealing with a lot. Love my dogs a lot again. Thank you so much. Really, truly. Question, does Donald know how to drive? Does he have a driver's license? Asking for a friend. Yeah, he knows how to drive, but I can't imagine the last time he drove. Does he drive well? No. Does he still have I imagine that somebody renews his driver's license for him, because if he had to, he would not have a driver's license anymore. It's probably the same one he's been renewing for like 40 years. So his picture still looks good to the extent that it ever did. Although personally, I think any ID pictures of him should look like the picture from Dorian Gray's attic. If life were fair. Old Fart Andy. Fascinating. Thank you so much for that, Andy. Question. Mary, how long before Capitol Mall becomes homeless? Trumpville camp. Oh, mall. Sorry. Homeless Trumpville camp. Yeah. Well, given what they're doing to the residents of DC right now, I'm worried. Yeah. It's he is out hoovering Hoover, that's for sure. And in such a short span of time. Philip, thank you so much. That's great. Comment, what upsets me most is the Democrats sitting on their hands in Congress. Nobody got up and left when Al Green was ushered out. That pissed me off. Yeah, and I honestly, I think that boded ill. That suggested to me that the Democrats are a group without a leader, which is upsetting because I really had high hopes for Hakeem Jeffries. And there is nothing quite as unstable and potentially dangerous as a group without a leader. We're kind of seeing that with the Republican Party now. Yeah, they have people running things and in charge of destroying shit, but nobody's leading them really. And this is partially what happens. The other thing that alarmed me was that Chuck Schumer, Senate Minority Leader, chose Alyssa Slotkin to give the response or the rebuttal to Donald's fascistic, propagandistic address to a joint session of Congress. So next couple of days are going to be very, very telling. Sherry, thank you so much. That's great, as always. Comment, I'd love to see Donald take the citizenship test without warning. My bet is he couldn't get one question. I don't even think he could spell his name right. You know, first of all, he would demand that he would be allowed to take it with a Sharpie. And he knows nothing. He's never read the Constitution, which is perhaps why it's so easy for him to set it on fire, because he doesn't know what's in it. Actually, that's not true. I mean, he doesn't know what's in it, but he'd set it on fire anyway because he doesn't like anything that's in it. So anyway, thank you guys for being here tonight. Oh, well, look at me. Wait, what just happened? I don't know. I think I'd have the hang of this by now. Anyway, really appreciate your being here. Thanks to everybody watching on YouTube and the tiny number of people who are still able to find us on Twitter. Oh, well. But we also have my Substack community here in the house. We're live streaming over there as well. For those of you who aren't aware, I have a Substack, which is Substack's just a platform where people can have their own newsletters. Mine is called The Good in Us. And like you guys, it's a fabulous community. The difference is people can interact at length in the comments, because this thread just zooms by. But on Substack, like there are substantive conversations. Yeah. So also to my Substackers who are here, who may be just joining us for the first time or who only know about the live show, we have videos dropping every day that do deeper dives into what we think are the most important topics that you need to be aware of and kept up to speed on. So check those out as well. Also, we have the Nerd Avengers a couple of times a week, which I love, and you should also check out. Thank you to everybody commenting. We love your comments, and to all of our super stickers, everybody giving us gifts. I promise you, everything you give to us goes where it should, to help grow this channel, to make us better able to give you everything you need to fulfill our mission. And we're really growing. I think we're almost at 325,000 subscribers. We are our next goal, of course, is 350,000. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do. After you subscribe, click on the bell icon, because that way you'll be alerted every time new videos drop. Also, like and share our videos, because that helps a lot as well. Wanted to thank also everybody who's listening to the podcast, because that's awesome. And to our moderators who keep this a place we all want to be. And of course, to my just a remarkable team who is just staying on top of this, all of the breaking news, and honestly doing it with an equanimity that I admire, because most of what we talk about and have to sift through is very difficult. So thanks as always to them. You guys rock. And that does it for us. I will be back here tomorrow night. I think it's Tuesday. I don't know. Is it Tuesday? Damn it. I literally can't keep track of time anymore, but it's Tuesday. So I'll be back here tomorrow at 6 p.m. every weeknight, Mary Trump Live, 6 p.m. Eastern. And we will have, again, videos dropping every day. So check out those. See you back here at 6. And in the meantime, everybody, please stay safe and be kind.